All right, and as I have it at 10:05, we are going to go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone to the Applying for an EDGE Grant informational webinar. We're very excited to have you today. This is the notice that this webinar is being recorded so that we can put it on our website. If anybody is uncomfortable with being part of a recorded webinar, this is your signal to duck out. We will also be posting the slide deck to de.gov/edge, and we'll be mentioning that fact more than a few things. More than a few times. So let's go ahead and get started. I would like to introduce to you, to kick things off, our director, Regina Mitchell.
Thank you, Andrea. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for today's webinar. It's great to see so many people out there. I don't know for sure, but I feel like this is the most participation we've had in one of these. So very exciting to see that. So this morning, we'll be providing information about the EDGE grant competition and how small business owners can put together a successful application. So let's get started. Next slide, please. So I'm going to take a minute to introduce all the presenters for today. So in addition to myself, we have Andrew Harton, who's the Business Finance Director for the division, and he'll be going over the financials and the rubrics that are part of the application. We also have Tom Thunstrom, who's the Center Director for the Small Business Development Center, and he will be talking about the ways that SBDC can provide support to EDGE applicants. And then we'll also have advice from a previous EDGE winner. So we're joined by Stephen Tsai, who is the CEO and co-founder of Futures First Gaming, who was an EDGE winner in the fall 2023 round. And then in addition to everyone I just listed, we also have our communications director, Andrea Wojcik, who will be the moderator for the question and answer period at the end. Next slide. So I know we already mentioned this once already. We'll mention it several times throughout the presentation, but please type any questions as we go into the Q&A box, not the chat box. And so we'll answer those at the end of the presentation. And again, we'll repeat this several times for those who join late, but this recording and the slides and this presentation will all be available at de.gov/edge by noon tomorrow. So just want to start by explaining a little bit about who the division is and what we do. So we are a service-focused state agency housed within the Delaware Department of State. And the division is committed to helping businesses to start and grow in the state of Delaware. We also include the Delaware Tourism Office and the Office of Supplier Diversity. And we support businesses in many different ways, especially primarily through our regional business managers, who I'll introduce in a moment. Next slide. So just wanted to quickly introduce you to the members of our team. If you can give a little wave as I call out your name. So as I said, we have Andrew Harton, who's the Business Finance Director here. Also want to shout out to his team because they spend hours and hours every time we have this application period open, reading through every proposal that we receive and doing a heavy lift with scoring all the applications. We also have Laura is our Deputy Director here at the division. And then, as I mentioned before, Andrea, our Communications Director, and our Regional Business Managers. So we have Dave for Newcastle County, Joe for the City of Wilmington and Northern Newcastle County, and then Anastasia, who oversees Kent County. And we also have Siobhan White, who is our Director of the Office of Supplier Diversity. I think that's everything. Okay. So this is going to be our 11th round of funding since the program initially launched back in 2019. You can see this is a picture of our very first round, our very first round of winners. And since that time, we have awarded over $7 million to 110 Delaware small businesses in a wide variety of industries. This was our most recent award round that happened last fall. Okay, so EDGE grants are divided into two categories. So we have STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, or math-related businesses. We get a lot of questions every round about, if a company is a STEM company or an entrepreneur company. So just being kind of in a STEM category or a STEM area doesn't really make you specifically a STEM applicant. And the example that I think is helpful is that, if your company is focused on coding education and teaching people or children to code, that would be an entrepreneur application versus somebody who is doing an actual app development or coding something themselves. That would be what we would consider a STEM category. So focus on the function of the business. So, like the teaching versus the actual developing to kind of figure out which category you belong in. And obviously you can reach out to any of us at the division to help clarify that for you. And then we also have our entrepreneur category, which are any businesses that are not STEM businesses. So STEM companies can win up to $100,000 each, and entrepreneurs can win up to $50,000 each, and there are 5 grants awarded in each category each round. And we always like to stress that this is a very competitive process. We typically receive about 100 applications or more every round, and from those we select about 14 to 15 finalists and then 10 winners. So again, very competitive, but we also like to stress that, you should keep applying until, you get to win the award. So next slide. All right. So eligible businesses have to be in business for less than 7 years. We go by the year that the business is formed, not the month. So if you were formed in 2018, you are eligible to apply this round. You also have to have 10 or less full-time employees. And if you're the only employee, if you're a sole proprietor as the owner, that's fine too. And then you can see we have a very helpful equation for how you determine how many of your part-time staff equal full-time. So 2 part-time staff equals 1 full-time staff. And then anybody who's working less than 10 hours a week or less than 4 months a year doesn't count, and contract employees don't count either. Businesses also have to be majority located in Delaware, which is 51% of your facilities and your employees. So you have to have a physical location in Delaware. And then we also get a lot of questions about remote workforce these days. So our answer to that is that they should be Delaware employees for payroll taxes and income tax purposes. So, if they're working remotely, but they are a Delaware employee on your payroll, then that would count as a Delaware employee for our purposes. And then if you have an online only business, if you're a sole proprietor and you're working at home, your home should be in Delaware. If you have a manufacturing site, that manufacturing site must be in Delaware. Businesses also must have net assets that are less than $500,000, but there are no revenue limits for applying. Those who have not yet created the business are also eligible to apply, but you should have all the components of the application. So we are still going to be looking for financial statements. And then if you have been awarded a strategic fund grant previously, you are not eligible for this competition, with the exception that if it was a DTIP grant. And so we get questions about this a lot of times too. If you have been awarded a strategic fund grant, you have to go present in front of a 9-panel council or 9-person council at a public meeting. So I promise you would remember doing that. But if you have any questions about this, again, you can contact anybody at the division and we can figure that out for you. 501c3s are not eligible to apply, and neither are anyone who has been convicted of a financial crime. So this is just a general list of what is eligible versus ineligible under the program. Really, most of your normal business expenses are eligible. The things that are not eligible are like salaries or payments that are made to the company's ownership, any purchase of real estate, permits, government fees, taxes, and then any improvements that you're making to your residential property. So if your business is based out of your home, you're not eligible to make any improvements there. Next slide. And then we always strongly recommend, encourage you to connect with one of our regional business managers from the start. They are here to help. They can be a huge asset to you and give you feedback on your application, give you advice on anything that you need to change or beef up. So just cannot stress enough, please contact a regional business manager if you are interested in applying for EDGE. Next slide. And so here's the contact information for the regional business managers. You can also find this on our website. We'll show this slide again at the end of the presentation, but you can see each person and the area that they cover. Laura Whistler, our deputy director, is currently covering Sussex County. And again, we'll be repeating this several times, but please write down questions as you go. Type them into the Q&A box, not the chat box, please. We'll answer them all at the end of the presentation. And then all of these slides and videos will be available at de.gov/edge by noon tomorrow. So just wanted to review the components of the EDGE application. So this checklist is also available as part of the application itself. So really want to stress you should be going through this checklist as you are creating your application before submitting your application, because every piece of this needs to be checked off for you to have an eligible application. A lot of times people are, knocked out for not having a complete application because they forgot to include their business license, they forgot to get their application notarized, or they did not provide the financials. So those are some of the top reasons that our applicants won't make it through the first round of scoring. So really want to encourage you, please focus on this checklist. Please make sure that you're looking at every bullet on here and making sure that you are doing everything that the checklist lays out. And we also have templates that are available on our website. The applications must include the templates as your proposal submission. There is a separate template for STEM and for entrepreneur. So please make sure that you're using the correct template for the category that you are applying for. And all applications must be submitted via PDF electronically to edgegrants@delaware.gov. The deadline will be Friday, February 28th at 4:30 p.m. We are very strict about that deadline. And I think I forgot to mention this on the last slide, but your proposal cannot be longer than 20 pages. And we are also very strict about that. Like we said, we get, about 100 each round, and our team reads through every single one of them. So anything that is included on page 21 will not be counted as part of your proposal. So if you have very important information or financials or a business license or anything that is on page 21, that will not count, and that could knock you out of the competition. So please adhere strictly to both of those things, the 20-page limit and the deadline. Next slide. So there's 4 key sections in the proposal template itself, which are business need, return on investment, competitive advantage gained, and community impact. So all successful EDGE applications will complete these sections in detail, focusing on where the business is in terms of market size, competition, capacity, what the business need is for an EDGE grant. So why does your business need this funding and how will you use it? Being very specific is very helpful in this section. And then how the EDGE grant will help your business to succeed into the future. What's the return on investment that you expect? And is there any community impact beyond job creation? So I'm going to talk about market sizing on the next slide, and then I'm going to turn it over to Andrew, who's going to talk in more detail about the other categories. So we do expect EDGE applicants to do a bit of research for their applications. We want to hear specifically about the size of your targeted market, who your customers are, what is the market for this business or product, where are they, how many of them are there, and then especially in terms of your customers, who is your competition? What would your customers purchase instead of your product or your service, and where do you fall in that market? And so also want to stress everybody has competition. Please do not say that you don't have competition. A very simple example that we always like to use is that if you are a flower shop and you are the only flower shop in your area, Your competition might be grocery stores that sell flowers or chocolate shops or bakeries and things like that. So please really think through that. Where would your customers go if they weren't getting the service or the product from you? Also want to encourage you to use Size Up Delaware. That is a tool that we have that can help you with these items and more for your Edge application. So really encourage everybody to look there, explore the site at delaware.sizeup.com. The Size Up company also has office hours every other Wednesday at 2 p.m. You can get the sign up link on our webpage there at delaware.sizeup.com. And we also have a webinar there that you can watch from the spring round where they walk through how you can use that tool. And then finally, your application should include challenges that your business faces. We understand that all businesses face challenges and we expect to see that, but we also want to hear about how the Edge grant can help you address those challenges. So now I'm going to turn it over to our business finance director, Andrew, who's going to go over the financial information we'll be looking for.
Great. Thank you, Regina. All right, financials. First things first, make sure that you include them. So, every round we get applications that don't include their financials, and it's really a shame to have to eliminate applications in the first round of judging. So make sure you always include your income statement and your balance sheet. And I'll talk more about what those are here in just a minute. The best applications, which again, if you want to be a winner in Edge, you have to be one of the best applications, right? So you need to incorporate financial data in your proposal. So what does that mean? That means that if you're going to talk about your top line, right? If you're going to talk about your revenue, then you need to provide kind of a financial backing, right, of your revenue drivers. So again, if you're a restaurant, you're going to include how many customers you're going to see a day. You're going to include what the average check size is. And you're also going to include information for where you came up with that information and why we should believe you. We don't evaluate your financials, the financials of your business, as part of the scoring process. So don't worry if oh, my business has been losing money or lost money last year, that you're not going to get dinged. You're not going to get dinged for that, right? So it just helps us understand your business better. And let's go to the next slide and we'll talk about the income statement and the balance sheet here. So a balance sheet is a snapshot of what your business owns, right? The assets of your business, and then how those were funded or acquired. So liabilities or equity. So a real simple example of that would be maybe your business owns a car or a van, that would be your asset, right? And then you acquired that by maybe making a down payment, there's your equity, and then borrowing or financing the rest, there's your liability, right? So that's why your balance sheet should always balance, right? Now, remember that your balance sheet shows the items at the price they were purchased or the cost they were incurred to make them. So, don't put it on your balance sheet unless you can assign a cost to it. The income statement, this is what most people are more familiar with, and that shows the flow of revenues versus expenses for a given period of time. So that's, and then it provides your bottom line, right? Your profit or your loss. And I recommend if your business is operating, we talk about including your balance sheet and income statement for the most recent period completed. So your income statement would likely be the calendar year, fiscal year or 2024, which just ended. And then your balance sheet would reflect what your assets, your liabilities, and your equity look like as of the end of the year. So typically December 31st, 2024. Again, your business might not be making a profit yet. That's okay. Be as detailed as you can. And I tell a lot of people, your business I'm sure your business, even if it's new, has expenses, right? Because you probably paid for your business license. If you're an LLC, you've been paying incorporation fees and incorporation taxes. So trust me, you should have something, even if you're new. Okay, next slide. This is just a snapshot of what a balance sheet and an income statement looks like generally. So, on the left side of the screen here, we have a balance sheet. Your assets are typically broken down between current assets and long-term assets, or current assets and fixed assets. And then your liabilities, current liabilities, which are liabilities payable within the next year, long-term liabilities beyond 1 year, and then finally the equity that you have that remains after you subtract your liabilities from your assets. And on the right side, we have your income statement. Again, top line, there's your revenue, right? And then you have your expenses below that. Typically, cost of goods sold comes first, and then your other general and administrative expenses. So salaries, rent, utilities, things like that. Finally, taxes and your net income. So this is a quick example of what these documents look like. All right, next slide, please. So as a reminder, the Edge grant is a matching grant. It's 3-to-1. So $3, you get $3 from the state for every dollar that you contribute. So you do need to contribute to capital to your project, right? So if you're applying for a STEM grant and you want the full $100,000 grant, that means that you need to have a match of just over $33,000 here. So, and that can be, over the course of a year. So, but you do need to have that. You do need to have that funding, because when it comes time at the end of 1 year to submit your expenditure report to the division, we expect to see $133,000, plus in expenditures. And again, if you're an entrepreneur, a $50,000 grant, you should have just under $17,000 ready to contribute to the project yourself. And if you have less than that, you can still, you don't need to request the full 100. You don't need to request the full 50. You can request less than that if maybe you don't have that much of a match. Your match should be project specific. So, if you're if you're installing, let's say, a new pizza oven, right? And that pizza oven is going to, create additional revenue and improve efficiency. Your match should also be centered around that project, right? Maybe the installation of the pizza oven, maybe the additional employee you'll need to man the oven. So it should all be project specific. And other grants can be used for the match. If you have a grant coming from somewhere else, again, we just care that you're at the end of the expense, at the end of 1 year, you're going to have all of those expenses ready to be reported, both the state match and your match. So, all right, next slide, please. So the rubric. So the rubric is on the application, and you should really, applications live and die by this rubric. So if you want to be an Edge winner, which everyone here does, right, you need to be living on the right side of this rubric in that 26 to 30 kind of point range. Because just consider the fact that, if we have 100 applications and only, 10 are winning, you need to be in the top 10%, right? And to be a winner. And, to even get to that final, opportunity to present to the judges, you have to have one of the strongest applications. So you need to live on the right side of the rubric. Review these review all of these bullets carefully. And another piece of advice that I want to provide everyone who's planning on applying to Edge for this round is, if you see, let's say, a bullet here under business need, right? And you might say to yourself, well, I really already addressed that in the introduction. My advice to you would be to pull that out, put it under the section that corresponds to the rubric. One, you save yourself space in the introduction to talk about something else. But two, put yourself in the shoes of a judge who's reading, 20 or 30 of these applications. You're asking them to remember sometimes 12 or 15 pages ago that you did a good job addressing that point already. It's much better for you if you put it in the section where it belongs. And one other thing I want to point out about this, is particularly the section, is if you applied last year, you might say, well, I applied last year. I think I'm pretty much good to go. I'm just going to go back and tweak. I really strongly suggest you go back and you review this rubric, because not every single bullet on here is going to be the same as last round. So you may be missing something entirely if you're taking your last application and thinking you can just duplicate it this year. So very important to always review the rubric. All right, next up. All right, so the first section was business need. This section here, return on investment. I won't go through each of these bullets, but one thing that we notice a lot with this section that sometimes people miss out on is the return on investment section talks not only about your business and how the Edge grant is going to provide a return on investment for your business, but also for the state, right? The state's making an investment here in you and in your business. What can the state see? Is there going to be additional employment? Is there additional tax revenue? Is there some other benefit that's maybe lacking? Maybe you're providing a healthcare service that the state doesn't currently have in that area. So just think about return on investment from really that kind of like that holistic view. All right, next up. All right, competitive advantage. Regina touched on this earlier. Make sure you are talking about your competition. And, the more you talk about your competition, it demonstrates to the judge that you have an understanding of your competition and where you fit in the marketplace. You're not going to, the judge isn't going to think, man, this person has a lot of competition. I don't know about this application. It's actually the opposite. They're going to think, wow, this person's really put a lot of thought into who their competitors are going to be. I think Regina already touched on this. Never say you don't have competition. No competition is a sure way to not be a finalist in the EDGE competition. So, all right, next slide, please. Community impact. So, community impact is important, right? So, you need to provide a compelling explanation for how your business is going to have a positive impact on the community. So that could be, again, going back to ROI, job growth, tax revenue. But it also may be something else. Maybe you're providing, again, like a need in the community, something, maybe it's a cafe in a place that doesn't really have a lot of social places for the community to come together and interact. That would be a community impact. So just really think about the kind of the add-on benefits that your business is providing in the community. All right, next up. All right, so we provide bonuses. So, if you're a minority, a woman, or a veteran-owned business, there's a bonus associated with that. And if your business is located or going to be located in an opportunity zone or a downtown development district, there's links on the application to see where the opportunity zones are in Delaware and where the boundaries are for downtown development districts. We do expect to see evidence supporting this. So don't just say, yeah, my business is going to be in an opportunity zone, or yeah, I'm considering a downtown development district. If your business isn't open yet, you should provide a location. So I'm looking to rent this space in this downtown development district. Just saying you're considering it is not going to get you the bonus. All right, next up. Okay, I will pass this one back to Regina.
Thank you, Andrew. So just a couple resources for those bonus categories. So as I mentioned earlier, the Office of Supplier Diversity is part of the Division of Small Business. They will certify your minority, women, veteran status free of charge. If you want more information on this or the other services that they provide, especially related to state procurement opportunities, you can contact Director Siobhan White, and her email is right here on the slide. And then, as Andrew said, the application or the rubric will link to the opportunity zone information, but an opportunity zone is a federal program designed to spur economic investment in economically distressed areas. So this screen shows, Delaware's designated opportunity zone locations, which are the Newark Star campus, Claymont, Smyrna, Wilmington, Dover, Milford, Georgetown, Seaford, and Laurel. And you can learn more at that link there, which is also available on the rubric. Next slide. Just want to reiterate again, the deadline for applications for this round is Friday, February 28th at 4:30 p.m. Submit it to edgegrants@delaware.gov. We are very strict about that deadline. Next slide. And I think we usually get questions about what happens after you submit every round. So as we said, it goes through multiple rounds of internal review and scoring. So there are 4 rounds that we read every proposal. We score them, a little bit more in depth each round. And then if you make it to be a finalist after those 4 rounds, you will present to a panel of outside judges. We do 2 separate judging days. So one is all of our STEM finalists and one is the entrepreneur finalists. And then you'll have 15 minutes to present to the judges, and then you'll have a 15-minute question and answer period. And then you're typically notified if you have won or not about a week after, but we always hold that information is always embargoed until we have, our official award ceremony. So the estimated time frame for this round is the end of April, beginning of May for final judging, and then awards announced in May or June. And ultimately, if you are not selected to present or as a winner, again, please reach out to your regional business manager. They can provide you with the feedback from the scoring process or the judging process. We have many finalists and winners who did not make it through on their second or their first or their second or their third attempt. So again, please, if you're not successful this round, please reach out to your regional business manager to help you to strengthen your application for the next round. And then, so if you are selected as a winner, we have a grant agreement that you will need to sign. We also confirm compliance with other state agencies before we disperse any funding. So to make sure that, you are up to date with your business taxes, that you have done everything with either Division of Corporations or the Department of Finance, that you don't have any DENREC violations, you don't have any Department of Labor violations, things like that. Then there are reporting requirements. So you'll have a year to spend the funding and then report back on how you spent the funding. And then after that, every year you'll have to submit a one-page report basically that talks about, the status of your business. Have you hired any new people? Have you opened any new locations? And all of our winners, the only thing that we ask is that you stay in the state for the 5-year reporting period. And if you leave the state during that period, you will be required to pay the funding back. And then again, a question that we normally get, EDGE grants are considered taxable income, but please consult with your accountant or financial advisor if you have any questions about your specific situation. And then one last time, next slide. Please type any questions into the Q&A box, not the chat box, and we will post the recording and these slides by noon tomorrow on de.gov/edge. So next up, we have Tom from the SBDC who, oh, sorry, I have the wrong thing open. I'm sorry. Next up, we have Stephen Tsai, who is the CEO and co-founder of Futures First Gaming, who, as I said, was an EDGE winner in the fall 2023 round. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. So I'll be brief, but hopefully this will be impactful. And I just wanted to provide you all with some tips on how we were able to submit a winning EDGE grant proposal and application. So next slide, please. Really, this was the EDGE grant was critical for Futures First Gaming. We were in business since 2020, so we were about going on our 4th year, and it was a critical time for us to expand. We were online pretty much primarily only, but we knew we wanted to get a physical location, and the EDGE grant was very, very instrumental in helping us to do that. It helped us to scale and provide an offering that we were unable to do just solely being online. Obviously, as was explained, the EDGE grant is a match program up to $100,000 for STEM businesses. We were the entrepreneur category, so we received the $50,000 award. And truly why this was critical and mattered for us is it created opportunities not just for us to expand, but for the community, for employment opportunities for individuals, as well as presenting a community hub. Next slide, please. So tip number 1, it was extremely critical to stay in contact with your regional manager. Anastasia worked with us, and she provided unmatched insight. She provided motivation. She made sure that we were progressing throughout the application process as we should, and she was just available for us to ask questions at any time when we had questions around anything. And then she was also instrumental in sort of the evolution of our application as we would submit and get feedback on different versions of the application. So I can't stress enough, by staying engaged and involved with your regional manager, who better knows what the committee is looking for than your small business manager. Next slide, please. So tip number 2, I would say just be extremely clear about what your vision and impact is. Articulate why. What's the problem that you're trying to solve? Why is it important? And how is this going to contribute to the community, which was stated earlier? So for us, we really wanted to open our physical location so that we could bring more individuals to our physical space with an impact statement of trying to close the digital divide and create opportunities for underrepresented youth, especially in STEM career fields. So if you don't know much about Futures First Gaming, basically in a nutshell, we use video games, which is one of the most popular forms of entertainment for youth, to attract individuals and teach them about technology skills, whether it be what's under the hood of video games or all of the associated technology disciplines that lead to STEM career path exploration. So really, by opening our physical location, we were able to create that community hub to bring more youth in and teach them about opportunities in tech and STEM. Next slide. Tip 3, make sure you align with the Edge Grant goals like was presented. That rubric is critical, but really what are the goals that are both mutually aligned both with you and with Edge Grant. So scaling your business, driving the innovation and growth, making sure that the results are measurable, and really, again, providing a clear example of how these goals align. So for us, again, opening that space creates opportunity. We've been able to create, employment opportunities, throughout the year, and create that hub for esports and for education for the community. So next slide. What is really critical, again, which was stressed, is a detailed budget and plan. So really communicate how every dollar is going to be used to achieve your goals. Make sure your budget supports your objectives and your milestones. Make sure that your budget is clear and is really presented professionally. If you have an accountant, work with your accountant or your financial person to make sure that all of those required documents are in perfect order. And really, just again, for us, detail what you're using the money for. We needed equipment. We needed to put some awareness out there that we were opening our space, and we need to furnish our space. So we were able to use the funding to accomplish all of that. And we're really proud and excited of the space that we've been able to put together. So next slide. The passion, I think, is something that really helped propel us to a winning application and proposal. Why are you the right individual for this or company for your business? Like, what are your accomplishments? What have you done? What are the challenges? Why is this meaningful to you? And make sure that comes across in your application. Express that enthusiasm or why this is so passionate to you, and what your vision ultimately will be if you are successful. And so for us, we were all gamers, we're all tech enthusiasts, but we also recognized that there was an opportunity and a challenge that not everybody got a fair shake to be able to explore those things. And so that's what drove us. We started in like I said, during the pandemic. We were an online business, and we were able to scale and move up to become a physical location. That meant a lot to us, and it meant that we could demonstrate that opportunity to others. And so just make sure that comes through when you're telling your story. Next slide. Revision. So the first draft is not the final draft, and for us, that actually this was our third Edge Grant submission. So we've written countless drafts of the proposal and our application. But we also worked with Anastasia, as I stated earlier, to make sure it was as sharp and as tight and as clear and as impactful as possible. So make sure that you revise and refine, seek input from mentors, colleagues, past grant recipients. I'm more than willing to help anyone who may be interested in speaking with me as well on going through the process. And then keep it tight. Like I think I had, you know, a 30-page application and I had to get it down to be in compliance with the submission. So, you know, if there's a lot of fluff, cut it out. Just get to the point, demonstrate your numbers succinctly, and then submit, and you know, be proud of what you submitted. Next slide. So just again, for me, these are just some personal pieces of advice. No matter what happens, take pride in this process because it's going to strengthen your understanding of your business needs and help you to gain clarity on what you're looking to do with your business. It'll help you create that clear roadmap for success, and a clear plan for where you want to go. It'll build confidence for future opportunities. So once you know, are able to get this to a point of which you're pleased and happy with it, you can build on that for future grant opportunities, or help you to refine, you know, your elevator pitch, or whatever you can take from this. Take pride in that, because it's just going to make your business and make you more confident and make your business better. And so just make sure that you take it in and you take it seriously. But it is a positive. It will have a positive impact on your business no matter what. Next slide. And you know, the last thing is just, you know, you got this. I mean, this is really, don't be afraid of this process. Get your, you know, craft a clear and compelling application. Just make sure it's in alignment with everything that's on that rubric. Make sure you tell your story in a powerful, passionate, and impactful way. And then from there, you know, it's just sit back and go through the process with confidence. And, you know, best of luck to every single one of you. As I said, you know, if you're interested in having a further conversation, you know, you can get my contact information. I'll be sure maybe to put it in the chat or whatever. But at the end of the day, you know, it's on you to make your business successful. So good luck.
All right. Good morning, everybody. My name is Tom Thunstrom. I am the Center Director for the Small Business Development Center. I'm going to speak very briefly about what the SBDC does and our role in supporting the Division of Small Business and supporting you through the EDGE grant process. Next slide, please. So the SBDC is a program that's funded by the state and also by the Small Business Administration. We're hosted out of the University of Delaware. We serve all 3 counties. We have advisors on the ground in all 3 counties. We offer services that are free and confidential. So we work on what I would consider to be the Vegas rules. So what's said in the Zoom chat or what's said in the meeting stays in the meeting. We keep your information about your business confidential unless you ask us specifically to talk to somebody, and we have a waiver to have you sign in that case. Next slide, please. So the Delaware SBDC has helped a large number of businesses over the last 2 fiscal years. We've helped over 80 businesses get started and have generated over $50 million in economic impact statewide in all 3 counties. So if you throw a rock down any main street, down Route 1, you know, down Market Street in Wilmington, we've likely worked with a business that you have patronized or have supported at some point along the way. And, you know, we have been doing this since the 1980s. Next slide, please. Some of the programs that we offer include business plans, EDGE grant support, and I'll touch on that very briefly in a moment. And we also partner within the University of Delaware through Learner Business School and also through the Management Information Systems programs at UD to do some support for student-based projects with businesses, whether it is helping them with a business plan or whether it's marketing or whether it's data analysis or building some sort of a upgraded website or tech solution for their business. A lot of those resources are, if not free, they're very low cost. I know the MIS projects, there's a little bit of a cost attached to it, but the vast majority of the work that we do and the services that we offer are at no cost to you, either in person or online. Next slide. So some best practices for EDGE grant. Hopefully you are not a procrastinator, and hopefully you have already started working on some form of the EDGE grant proposal. It's best to do this a little bit at a time. I've found that our best applications, and we helped the majority of the winners per every round. Typically, we see them well prepared. Typically, we see them attack this at a consistent, persistent basis, and they're starting now. They're not coming in on February 25th with a very, very rough draft. It is a process. It is like writing a paper. It is a 20-page paper. So it does take a little bit of work. It does take a little bit of refinement. You know, Stephen pointed out, you sometimes are doing multiple drafts. It's okay. You know, sometimes they start at 30 pages, and then by the time we're done with it, you have a 20-page proposal that looks really good. So start working on it now. Don't wait until after the Super Bowl. Don't wait until after President's Day to work on it. Remember in your project budget, if you can go back one slide, just to source how your funds are going to be handled, especially if you have multiple parts. Like if you have a truck and you're doing some upgrades on the truck, such as like a rack or, you know, a wrap, source how much of that's going to be contributed by you, how much of that's going to be the grant covering it. And again, remember that key thing that the state will do $3 for every dollar that you contribute. So if you're doing a $60,000 truck and upgrades, that's $45,000 a grant, $15,000 of you. So just keep that in mind that you need to be able to show how much you're going to contribute and also how much the state's going to contribute in the cost of the project. Next slide, please. One thing to keep in mind, you do have to put a 5-year financial forecast in your EDGE grant, and you want to be able to show that you're going to generate additional sales, that you're going to either lower debt costs and that you're going to increase bottom line. If you can hire folks, that's even better. And you want to be able to quantify that and show the return on investment. One of the key drivers in a successful EDGE grant is showing how the state's investment in you is going to help your business grow above and beyond what you're already forecasting to do. That ROI is incredibly critical. That return on investment is incredibly critical for your business. So you want to be able to spell that out both numerically and then also within your proposal, how your business is going to succeed because of EDGE and how that will move the needle for your business. Most importantly, when you win, you want to make sure you can track and properly account for your expenses. So when you report back to the state how you're doing and how you're spending your money, that it's clear, it's easy, it's succinct, and it's concise. We can help you with that if you need any support. We can help you put the QuickBooks together if necessary to do that. Next slide, please. So our role is a partner with the Division of Small Businesses, RBMs. So we ask that you go to them first. They will refer you over to the SBDC directly for advising, and we will meet with you by Zoom. Our role is to review and improve your grant proposal and review and improve your financial projections. We will not do the grant right, nor will we predict sales nor bottom line. That comes from you. But our role is really to help refine it and tighten up that proposal to be able to put it in the best position for it to be successful and to make it as competitive as possible in a very competitive grant process. Next slide. And for more information on the Delaware SBDC, please visit our website, delawaresbdc.org. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Tom, and thank you, Stephen. Just a few more slides quickly before we get to the question and answer section. So just want to encourage everybody to follow the division on social media for important updates on EDGE and other resources that we can provide for your business. So you can see all of our handles listed out here. Next slide. We also hope you'll sign up for our e-newsletter through our website. The newsletter is sent out every Wednesday morning and has EDGE updates and much more, lots of information from our resource partners and any news that we think could be helpful to small businesses. Again, if you have questions about EDGE, please reach out to a regional business manager. You can go to our website at de.gov/EDGE, and there will be a green box there. You can click there to find your area's regional business manager. You can also email at business@delaware.gov. Just want to note that is a different email address than the submission. So please do not send your EDGE proposals to that website or that email address, sorry. Again, as promised, here is the names and contact information for our regional business managers and the areas that they cover. I think this has also been put in the chat. And again, you can find it on our website. Next slide. And then again, Office of Supplier Diversity, Director Siobhan White, her information is here as well. And the website for the office is listed as well. Again, just want to reiterate, deadline for applications, Friday, February 28th at 4:30 p.m. sent to edgegrants@delaware.gov. And then that is all of our slides. Before we get to the question and answer section, I just want to take a minute. I realized I forgot to introduce somebody in the beginning. So we are also joined this morning by CJ Bell, who will be the incoming director of the Division of Small Business. So CJ, if you could give a wave. Thank you. Sorry about that. I did not have my participants listed out, so I did not realize. I apologize. And then Andrea, I think we're ready to move to the Q&A section.
All right, fantastic. So first of all, I want to thank all of our presenters, and I also want to thank our staff who have been very busy in the chat box answering a lot of your questions. But now here is an opportunity for more questions. And one of the things that I know is generally a big question is, can you please go back to the list of regional business managers and their contact information? So I'm just going to put this right up here and leave it here. And I'm going to look at any pending questions. And remember, you can ask a question of any of our speakers today, including Stephen from Futures First Gaming. Oh, and here's one. I may have missed it, but Stephen included his email here. So Stephen, if you can put it in
I will put it in the chat.
For the chat, that
Yep.
works just fine. Thank you. Let's see. And I know we've had a lot of questions about what is STEM versus what is entrepreneur still. So would one of you like to give another explanation about what you should consider when applying for a STEM category versus an entrepreneur category grant? What factors should you consider? So I'm thinking this was in Regina's portion.
Yeah, so I'm sorry, I was trying to pull, we get this question a lot. I was trying to see if we had a resource available that I could share. But again, I think if you could think through, you know, the like purpose of your company versus kind of like, you know what, the example that we used with, you know, coding education versus using coding to develop an app. So like the purpose of your business in coding education is teaching and education, which is not what we would consider to be a STEM category, versus the application development, which is obviously STEM related and has the ability to, you know, grow exponentially. Does anybody have anything they want to add there?
I'll add something, Regina. We actually do have a document.
Okay, I was trying to find it.
I don't see it either, Andrea. I know we have one. There's a STEM versus entrepreneur document that we put together for businesses to better understand what category they belong in. So maybe it's on the website and I'm not finding it, but we can post it, I'm sure, on the website as well, on the Edge Grant page.
Yeah, I don't think it was posted on the website. I know it was given to the regional business managers, so they would be able to share with business owners, but we can post on the website for sure.
Cool.
Excellent.
Hey, this is Stephen again. I'm sorry. I don't think I can post in a general chat because I'm a host or panelist. So if I can give my email out, it's Stephen, STEPHEN at Futures, FUTURES. There you go. Thank you. Thank you. Somebody
Yep,
posted.
no problem. I
Much
just put it in the
appreciated.
chat for everyone.
Yep.
All righty. Okay, next question. Regarding the response, your company can be formed in another state, but 51% of your business must be located in Delaware. So the individual says, how should 51% of your business must be located in Delaware be demonstrated, especially if the business is operated out of my home by me?
Yeah, so again, if you're operating the business out of your home should be based in Delaware. Your business license address should be a Delaware address. And the 51% is if you have more than one location. You know, we want to see that the majority of your physical locations are in Delaware.
All right. Can you go deeper into detail about matching the grants? Are you saying at the end of 1 year, we should have invested X amount into the business in addition to the grant amount? How is this determined? If we fall short by, say, a few thousand, is there still a penalty?
Sure. So, oh, Andrew, if you,
Well, if you're gonna take it, yeah, I can take it if you want. Yeah.
that's
That's
fine.
fine.
I can, so, you know, the proposal should be project specific. So it's not just, you know, you're not getting the grant for like the general operations of your business. You're getting a grant for a specific project proposal. And so at the end of the year, we want to see that you use that grant funding as you laid out in the proposal, in your application. And then, like we were saying, it's 3 to 1. So if you got $50,000 in a grant, you know, your full project should be almost $65,000 because you're going to use the grant funding plus your portion. And then, sorry, I just lost the question, so I'm not sure if I'm going to miss some parts of it. And then, so when you're reporting back, you know, you're submitting to us like invoices and receipts and things that you had listed on your budget, so we can verify that yes, you did, you know, spend the money on what you said you were going to spend the money. If there's a gap in what, you know, if you're short some of the projected funding, then we're going to adjust the grant funding accordingly. Andrew, was there anything you wanted to add there?
I would just say, you know, to your last point, if you do come up short, there is a clawback. You'd be expected to return some of the grant funding in order to meet the 3 to 1 matching requirement.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. What disqualifies a person or business from being able to apply for a grant?
So I think we had a slide in the beginning that kind of laid out the requirements. So if you've been in business for longer than 7 years, or you have more than 10 full-time employees, you would not be eligible for the grant. If you have a 501c3 designation, you're not eligible. Thank you, Andrea. And then, yeah, if you've received a strategic fund grant, aside from a DTIP grant, if you know the owner or principal in the company has been convicted of a financial crime, and if you have net assets that are greater than $500,000.
All right, next question. What do you consider a company that does repairing as well as going and teaching about computers?
That would be an entrepreneur.
All right. Question is, if your business does not begin within the year, can it be carried over to the following year?
So again, the grant agreements that everyone signs once the grant is awarded will lay out the timeline. So we give businesses 1 year to spend the funding, and then I think we have like a couple months for them to report back to us. So you would need to spend the funding before that year is up.
Next question. 501c3s are ineligible. Will businesses that are L3Cs be eligible as long as they don't have a 591c3 designation?
So
And
501c3s are not eligible to apply for the EDGE grant. You will be required to have a state of Delaware issued business license, and having an LLC. That's great, but you will still need to have your state of Delaware issued business license to apply. And I also recommend you reach out to your regional business manager.
thank you, Anastasia.
You're welcome.
Next question, do consultants need to have a Delaware business license? And if so, what category does consulting fall under on the business license application?
So all applicants need to have a Delaware business license, no exception. So your application will not be considered complete if you do not submit a Delaware business license with it.
All right, I have had my family child care for 15 years. I went back and got my bachelor's for early childhood education. Now I want to open a center, but I don't have the funds. Can I apply?
So you would need to, you could apply for the new center, but not the existing center. So the existing center would be would not be eligible because it's been open for 15 years. So you would have to form a new company to apply. You would have to apply under the new entity.
Let's see. Here's a good one. The business I'm wanting to start is not the same business I'm currently working on. However, they're in the same field. Can I use my current financials to give an idea of what I can make or how much I should make with the projections?
So you could use those financials to inform your projections, but the financials submitted for the application should be financials for the business that is on the application. So you should not be submitting financials for a different company other than the one that is submitting.
Next question, what does the reporting process look like if awarded the grant?
Andrew?
Yeah, so you're required to report for 5 years. So the first report you send is actually your final expenditure report. So after 1 year, you will have expended the EDGE grant plus your match, and you need to provide all the receipts and proof of payment to accompany that as evidence. And then for the next 5 years, you're going to, well, the next 4 years actually, you're going to provide an annual report to the division that's very simple. It's your current financials, as well as some information regarding your current employment levels, your revenue, your assets, just so we can track the progress of your business. But I would say the reporting requirements are actually pretty light, and they're 5 years long.
Thank you.
Next question, does the funding match need to be in cash or can it include the equivalent value of work or equipment?
Again, so the match is demonstrated throughout the year after you've been awarded the EDGE grant, and it's demonstrated by receipts and proof of payment. So no, it cannot be like an in-kind match. I have this piece of equipment that I think is worth this much. You'll need to provide receipts, invoices, proof of payment at the end of 1 year.
And again, just to add on to that, I think we get this question a lot too. If people need to have the matching funds up front. So as Andrew said, the reporting piece of that is a year after you receive the grant. So you do not have to have the matching funds like the day you receive the grant, but over the course of that year, we would expect you to have paid out your portion of the grant as well.
Great. Okay, next question. This might be to clear up some confusion. Someone spoke about bonuses such as minority-owned, women-owned, and opportunity areas. Are these bonuses in addition to the grant? And are the bonuses also considered taxable income?
So the bonuses are not monetary. The bonuses are related to points on the rubric.
Okay, next question. If my business is a combination of different categories, however, 50% of my business involves STEM, am I still able to apply for the STEM category? In other words, does my business have to be 100% based on STEM to apply for that category?
I would say it's based on the project, so you probably
Yeah.
want to ask your regional business manager.
Yes.
Thanks, Joe. Oh, this is a great question. Are there any rules around AI generated or supported businesses? Will this fall under STEM or only or both categories?
Depends on the project. Project business manager.
Yes.
Let's see. So this question is, I currently have an established beauty lash and bar business. I want to expand and provide suites or rental booths for other cosmetologists, estheticians. I currently am working on expanding and putting money toward my business. Would this be included in the match since it's within the year? Or does the matching begin after the grant? Would this include startup costs, rent, inventory?
Yeah, so that the matching begins after the grant. So like we've been saying, the grant is for a specific project and the match should be for that project as well. So that should start after you have been awarded the grant. General, you know, like the funding that you've committed to your business does not count as the match. The match again is very project specific.
All right. Are there any other questions? It looks like everything else has been answered or is in the process of being answered. Last call, last call. When can you be assigned a regional business manager? As soon as you send them an email. Again, I will go back to their contact information. Find the one that is specific to your county, email them, and they will be back in touch with you. So pretty much immediately. Yeah, the business manager is specific to your county. So just email the relevant individual on this screen and you'll be in great shape. Let's see. If awarded the grant, will this be taxed upfront? And what are the tax responsibilities for our business? So again, tax responsibilities, you should consult an accountant. And Regina or Andrew, do you know if the grant will be taxed upfront?
So you receive the grant funding when you sign your grant agreement. So you receive the money, you know, upfront before you have completed the project. Again, please consult with your accountant or financial advisor, but you know, it would be income in the year that you receive it. So when you file your taxes for that year, you would report that income.
What defines Wilmington area versus Newcastle County? Joe, Dave?
Yeah, so Wilmington is like city limits and then sort of everything north of it, like North Wilmington, I guess.
And the rest is Newcastle.
Southern Newcastle.
Yeah, Southern Newcastle.
So like Newark is considered Southern Newcastle.
What happens if you apply in the wrong category?
So you will be judged against the other applicants in that category. So, you know, if you are really an entrepreneur applicant and you apply in the STEM category, then your application is probably not going to be scored as highly as the true STEM applicants.
And again, this is where we continue to encourage you to work for the regional business manager. They have a really strong sense of what should be STEM and what should be entrepreneur. You know, we provide this resource for you. Please don't try to go it alone. These people are experts in in working on these applications in this process. They've been doing it for a while. So please use their expertise. All of their services are free. Let's see. Your business manager, the county, is it where you live in Delaware or where the business will be located? So home address versus business address. What do you say? Which one should they pick?
I say business address because that's who's applying. The business.
I agree.
Would expanding a childcare business be something to apply for this grant?
Yes, generally that would be an eligible project. And again, not to beat a dead horse, but you should contact your regional business manager and talk through the specifics of your plan.
Can you apply on more than one category for more than one business?
So each business can submit one application. So if you are applying as a business, you have to choose if you are applying for STEM or entrepreneur. You cannot submit two applications for the same business. But if you have two businesses, you can submit an application for each business.
All right, looking at additional questions. Could the EDGE grant be used to hire programmers for our project? Additionally, would our other project expenses count toward the business's required contribution to the project if we use the grant for hiring?
Andrew, do you have thoughts on that?
I mean,
Yeah, so yeah, you can hire programmers for your project. That's a common expense for STEM applicants. And would your other project expenses count towards the business required contribution? Yes, as long as they were project specific for what you applied for the EDGE grant.
All right, next question. In the finalist round, what does the 15-minute presentation to the judges entail?
So your presentation will basically be the proposal that you submitted. So, in a presentation form. So you want to hit all of, the categories that are included in the rubric and the proposal. So kind of use that as your guide.
I also wanted to jump in on this, that when you make it to the pitch round, your regional business manager will meet with you and help you put together your pitch. So that way, the first time that you're going into the room is not the first time that you're actually giving the pitch. And you'll have a little bit more of a level of as much comfort as you can pitching to 9 strangers and asking for whatever amount of money that you're going to be asking for.
All right, it's not clear to me how the eligibility works for businesses that operate exclusively online. Can you please elaborate?
So I think if you have specific questions, again, you should contact a regional business manager or someone in our office. That I think the simplest way I can explain it is that if your business is operating online, you still need a business license, and the business license requires a business address. That business address should be a Delaware address. But again, I think if you can kind of talk through the specifics of your circumstances with a regional business manager, they can provide additional clarity.
All right. We are now at 11:19, and this has been a really engaging and interesting presentation, probably one of the more active ones that we've had. So wanted to thank everyone for joining us today. As a reminder, we will be posting both the recording and the slide deck to de.gov/edge. We encourage you to reach out and speak to a regional business manager with your specific questions. And with that, I want to again thank all of our presenters today, including the regional business managers and all of our staff that helped answer questions. And I wish you a wonderful day. Thank you.